Imagine saying the wrong thing in a conversation. Click, undo. Making a bad investment. Click, undo. Posting something you regret online. Click, undo. It sounds amazing, right? A real life superpower. If we could undo everything instantly, would we ever truly grow? Or would we just get stuck in a constant loop of fixing the past instead of moving forward? We live in a digital first world where Ctrl Z is one of the most comforting shortcuts we know. In 3D, in graphic design, in video editing, it's our ultimate safety net. We mess up, undo. We don't like how it looks, undo. We feel a little bit of creative doubt, undo. We hit that button and get a clean slate. But here's the problem. When we bring that same mentality into our real lives, where there's no shortcut, we struggle, we freeze. We become afraid to start because we don't trust ourselves without an undo key. Welcome to Peace in Pixel, the podcast exploring mental wellness of digital creatives in today's hyper-connected world. I'm Esther Michael, and today we're diving into what I like to call the Control Z culture, the hidden mindset that perfectionism, infinite retries, and the fear of mistakes have created in our lives. Control Z is the first magic trick you learn in any creative software. It's the moment the software stops being a rigid tool and becomes a playground. You can do anything risky, bold, or messy, knowing that with these two little keys you're safe. That feeling is powerful. It's what allows us to experiment without fear of permanent consequences. But here's the flip side. That comfort rewires our brain. We become less tolerant to mistakes because we've trained ourselves to believe that mistakes don't have to live. We can just erase them and pretend they never happened. It's kind of like baking cookies with infinite dough. You burn a batch? No worries. Control Z. You have another batch of dough waiting. You burn those two? Never mind. Just undo and try again. You never learn how to watch the oven, how to adjust the temperature, or how to feel when the dough is just right, because you don't need to. Control Z becomes less about a quick fix and more about an endless stalling mechanism. It's comfort, but it's also a trap. This isn't just about creative software. Think about social media. It's a prime example of Control Z culture in action. We write a caption, then delete it. We post a photo, get a few likes, but maybe not as many as we'd hope, so we delete it and repost it later at a better time. We get a slightly negative comment, we erase it. We're constantly curating and sanitizing our digital selves, editing out the mistakes to present a perfect mistake-free facade, and that just makes our mistakes feel even more personal and catastrophic when they happen in a space where they can be deleted. This culture of endless undos feeds right into one of the most debilitating traits of creatives, perfectionism. We talked about it in the previous episode. Psychologist Barry Schwartz, in his book The Paradox of Choice, talks about how having many options actually makes us less happy and more prone to inaction. When you combine that with undo culture, you create an environment for endless crippling indecision. The more options we have for perfecting something, the harder it is to ever feel like it's done. Think about the artist who stares at a blank canvas, not because they lack ideas, but because they're terrified of making the wrong mark. Or the writer who deletes and rewrites the first sentence of a novel for weeks. On digital art forums, you'll see threads with titles like, "I've been redoing this model for 6 months and it still doesn't feel like it's good enough." Or, "I'm on version 45 of this logo and I think I'm just going to scrap it and start over." Or you could even watch the whole process of a project being done a million times on platforms like YouTube by creatives all the time. This is Control Z culture bleeding into real life, a constant loop of, what if I just fix it one more time? It's the pursuit of an unattainable idea, and it often leads to burnout, creative blocks, and projects that are never finished. And before you know it, you have a graveyard of work in progress or abandoned projects. We become so focused on correcting that we forget how to create, or even why we create in the first place. The work becomes a testament to our anxiety, not our imagination. The undo key lets us postpone the difficult moments of commitment. But true art and true growth requires us to commit because those difficult moments are what actually lets us grow. So, why are mistakes so essential for growth? Neuroscience shows that mistakes aren't just okay, they're important. In fact, they're crucial to the learning process. When we make a mistake, a part of our brain called the anterior cingulate cortex lights up. It's a kind of alarm system. It basically says, hey, something's off. What we just did didn't work. We need to pay attention and adjust and learn. This is how we build new neural pathways and accurate memories. It's a biological feedback loop that drives learning and adaptation. But what does Control Z do? It shortcuts that loop. It allows us to erase the alarm signal. Instead of sitting with the discomfort of an error, we can just eliminate it. So when a mistake happens in real life, when a client doesn't like your work, you publish a design that flops, or you just say the wrong thing in a meeting, we panic. We never built the muscle for living with imperfection because we've been operating in a digital world where it's not required. We haven't developed the resilience to sit with the discomfort of error and use it as a tool for growth. Think of it this way. A mistake is like a detour on a road trip. It might be frustrating, but it forces you to look at the map from a different perspective. Control Z is like teleporting back to the beginning every time you take a wrong turn. You never learn the terrain, and you certainly never find any hidden gems. You just keep trying the same old route, hoping to get it right. So, how do we break free from these mindsets without abandoning the tools that are so helpful to us? The answer isn't to get rid of the undo key entirely, but to shift our mindset from erasure to iteration. In our previous episode, we did talk about creative projects being same as gardening, where you plant seeds and you let them grow, you water, you give it sunlight. You can't just yank it to make it grow faster. You have to let it grow. Well, today, while still using the gardening analogy, let's think of it in this perspective. Say you plant a row of seeds. Some sprout beautifully, some are a little crooked, and some don't sprout at all. You don't dig up every seed that looks crooked. That's erasure. That's the Control Z mindset. Instead, you nurture, you adjust, and you learn over time. You give the crooked plant a little support stick. You learn that maybe that part of the garden needs more sun, or maybe the soil needs different nutrients. That's iteration. The mistakes are the plants that didn't grow perfectly, and they don't signify failure. They're just data points. They're a part of the process. This is the type of mindset we need to cultivate. We need to see your work not as a single perfect product, but as a series of evolving versions. Here are some practical reframing tools to help you do that. They're not a checklist, they're conversation starters with yourself. Try one-pass exercises. Try committing to a sketch, a sculpt, a render without using the undo key. You can have a second or third pass if you want, but you're not allowed to go back and erase the first one. Personally, this is something I do. If I'm about to take a bold step, which I am quite unsure of what the result might be, I try to duplicate the model or duplicate the entire scene so I have another version in case I need to fall back. And if my next step turns out to be something I like, but I still have another idea, I know I always have a backup where I could go back and explore my second idea with the duplicate. That way I don't have to keep undoing every step that I make. And I think that's something that can help you too. Also, you can try versioning over erasure, which is just what I said that I do all the time. But in this case, you duplicate your file from the onset. Also, you could try rethinking mistakes. Instead of seeing them as failures, consider them experiments. This is a powerful shift. An experiment can't fail. It can only yield new information. Every mistake uncovers new understanding about form, light, color, or perspective. What if the wrong color you picked is actually a more interesting choice? What if that unexpected line in your drawing leads to a new character design? Embrace that serendipity. So think about the last time you spent hours redoing a project. How did it feel? Safe at first, right? Then maybe exhausting, frustrating, even demoralizing. If you're climbing a mountain, if you never step on rocks that feel unstable, you'll never learn balance. You'll never learn to shift your weight and trust your footing. You'll never reach the summit. But Control Z is like trying to reach the top of the mountain but being given a helicopter to fly up every time you stumble. It's comfortable, efficient, convenient, but you don't learn the skill. And the mountain never truly challenges you. When you get stuck at a different mountain without a helicopter, well, you're going to be stuck for a very long time. The real joy of creativity and of life itself isn't in flawless process. It's in the struggle, in problem solving, in the beautiful, unexpected moments that arise from the things that don't go according to plan. The imperfections are what makes them uniquely ours. The trick isn't to reject the undo key. It's to choose when it matters, to allow mistakes to exist, to let our first pass stand, and to see imperfections as essential markers of learning. The true magic isn't in the instant fix, but in the slow, difficult, and ultimately rewarding process of making something that stands, imperfections and all. Control Z is everywhere. It's convenient, a tool, and a temptation. But life, creativity, and art aren't programs we can reset perfectly. And our growth happens in the textures, the bump, and the places where undo isn't an option. Next time you find yourself endlessly redoing a design, a post, or even a conversation, ask yourself, what if I just let it be? What could I learn if I committed? Embrace iteration, accept imperfection, commit to growth, and remember, the true magic isn't in undo, it's in making something that stands. Thank you for tuning into Peace and Pixels. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another creative who might need to hear it, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Until next time, please take care of your mind and your art. Bye.